please. Lee Valley, anyway. Okay, last but not least, where are you? I will block you just in here. Ladies and gentlemen, just about to have a little bit of a fashion show here. If you've got cameras, which, hey, look, there's someone with a camera there. Hello. If you've got cameras, now's a brilliant opportunity to get to the sound stage now. See who we've got here in kit. See what the uniforms are. Learn a little bit about our wartime history. Oh, Paul, I see you. Could we have you front and centre ASAP, please? Double, Sergeant, double. I can tear them stripes off you. Don't tell them your name, Pike. Okay, Lisa. Where's Hayley? Hayley, lovely. Lisa, if you put a bucket down by this armed guard, please. Now, we take security very seriously here in Barry. Our collection bucket has an armed guard. Okay, now before anybody starts talking about it, I do see there is a Facebook rumour that Obama is coming today. I'm here in front of you to tell you that is not so, because he would not put any money in the collecting tin. That's a hint. Okay, right, ladies and gentlemen, here you have a motley collection. Come on. Come on. Yes, you. Come. Over at this end. Here we have a motley collection. Can you all hear over the music? Everybody hear over the music? Beautiful. Okay. Here we have a motley collection of some of our living historians today. Now, thankfully the Paras have just dropped in. John, can I have you front and centre as soon as possible, please? And Sue as well. Right, I'm going to see if I can figure out how to turn sounds down. I'm afraid that's electrical magic. I'm not going there. Right. There we go. Right. Good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Right. Anybody here know what the centenary year is today? Or this year? Anybody know? Hands up if you know what centenary it was. Oh! Adam! Lovely. Come forward, sir. Right. Apart from my people at the front, anybody know what the centenary year is? Ugly gentleman in the middle. That's right, sir. 2014 is the centenary of the Great War, the First World War. Yeah? The one where everyone got off of the trenches, walked quite happily towards that heavy German machine gun. Yeah, you can see how that went down. So what we have here on the far right, Sue, far middle and the left, please. And you'll have to describe your uniform. Okay? What we have here... Oh, where's Hayley? Hayley. Hayley, get more visible in the front, young lady. You're mugging people, are you? Okay, lovely. Well, mug from the front, you're more visible. Okay, here we go. Right, so the Great War, 1914, they say, to 1918. Now, my gramp joined up in 1914. He came home 5 years later in 1919. Thankfully, he did come home, otherwise you'd have somebody else comparing here today. Yeah. Okay, now on the far right here, step forward if you would please, sir, we have a rather dashing gentleman. Yes, nice comfy uniform. Yeah, riding breeches. Yeah, a little twirl please, sir. Here we go, riding breeches. Yeah, this is a cavalry officer of the Essex Yeomanry. Yeah, one of Wales's forefront Great War reenactment groups. You will notice the horses, the cavalry horses as well. Okay, he's carrying a .455. Arthur, just slowly, come around the back here, you do this better than me. Okay, he's carrying a hoofing great .455 caliber 6-shot revolver, normally a Webley. That is a hoof-in-hand cannon, okay? That stops the fuzzy wuzzies when they're charging up you with a saw. You know, the big spear, you remember the stuff. It'll stop them, it'll put them on a back. Yeah? It'll also put him on his back because it's hell of a kick. Okay? Thank you, madam. Now, John, unless you've been in the TARDIS, you're in up at this end. Down in here between these two, if we could please. Shuffle up. Move yourselves, move yourself. Okay, right. Now, anybody been down to our little war museum down in Barry Island? Two of you. Brilliant. Well, we're doing quite well there. We have a war museum in Barry Island Railway Station, other end of the track. It's open today. Now, Barry had 5 voluntary aid detachment Red Cross nurse hospitals during the Great War. 5. You see the church on the top of the hill there? Okay, on the right. You see the church on top of the hill? Behind that, there was a Red Cross voluntary aid detachment hospital that in 1917, held 700 wounded British troops. That's how close the Great War got to Barry. There were 5 of those hospitals. I'm rubbish at maths. 5 times 700, 3,500, yeah, roughly. Roughly 3,500 wounded servicemen in Barry in 1917 in 5 hospitals, and there's one we prepared earlier. Okay, now, staff in those hospitals. Anybody watch the Crimson Fields on BBC? I see a lady nodding, yeah? You remember there were ladies in that weren't nurses. They were what they called voluntary aid detachment. Yeah? Step forward, please. Voluntary aid detachment nurses were not actually nurses. They were generally middle-class ladies who had staff. They didn't make their beds. They didn't cook. Sounds a bit like my last wife, actually. Right? They didn't. They had staff to do all that. But of course, when the Great War came along, all of the staff disappeared off to the front. They joined as nurses, they joined as infantry, whatever. They went to the front. So they were left thinking, now what do I do to help our country? So they became voluntary aid detachment nurses. Now what do you think of a hospital? What do you do in a hospital? Yeah, you have the nurses, then you have the bed cleaning, you have the cooking, what else? You have the ironing, all that good stuff. This young lady here is a nurse, a voluntary aid detachment nurse that was stationed up in the hospital there at the Windsor Road. Okay, step forward please if you would. A little bit more. Give us a twirl. This is the typical uniform voluntary aid detachment nurse of the First World War. Thank you, Lisa. Now her butler, September 1914, okay, he went, I've had enough of being a butler, I'm going to go over and I'm going to fight for my country. It'll be over by Christmas, I'll be a hero. Off you go. Front and center, yeah, right. Oh. Now, it was over by Christmas, but sadly not the Christmas he thought. Okay, as you can see, this is a really lovely, comfortable, easy to use uniform. Now the uniform, and please correct me sir, because I'm not an expert on Great War, but please correct me if I'm wrong, is that 1908 pattern?
The webbing is 1908.
Lovely. Is wearing what they call 1908 pattern webbing. Okay, it was the first webbing of the British Army that was not leather. If you notice our officer, posh type, he has leather webbing. Now we're getting through not just thousands of infantry, thousands of forces, we're getting through millions of forces. If you think every able-bodied man was either in the army, in the forces, in the merchant navy, or being given a white feather. Oh, there's one we've prepared earlier on the floor. That's not yours because he's in the army, he's all right. Okay, you can see now, it's a lovely day today, isn't it? Don't you think? Yeah? Do I see somebody in shorts? There we are. Lady here in shorts and t-shirts. Brilliant, isn't it? How do you fancy wearing wool? Nice thick wool jacket. Nice thick wool jacket with a nice leather jerkin. Yeah? Now if it was raining, how good is wool in the wet? It's rubbish, isn't it? Apart it keeps you warm when it's wet, but it gets heavier. This uniform is absolutely rubbish for everything. I've never personally found anything that it's good at. Okay, he's carrying a short, what do you want there? Mr. Mannering will get on to you.
Captain Mannering.
Right, now he's carrying a SMLE, a short magazine Lee Enfield rifle. If you take that out as well. Okay, that is a short magazine Lee Enfield rifle, .303 caliber. Now I've shot one of those personally. It's a lovely rifle. I mean, I could quite happily, with that rifle, I could take out somebody on that church. Okay, this is the range of that rifle. Okay, they're cropping up in Africa. They're still cropping up in Afghanistan. During the Second World War, okay, there are certain improvements made. The easiest thing to see is the position of the sights. Gentlemen, if you can show where the sights are on your rifles. You'll notice one is halfway up the barrel and one is right at the end of the rifle. Now that because it's at the end of the rifle, you get a longer distance between the foresight and the rear sight, and it's even more accurate. Okay. The other most noticeable point is to save on manufacturing. The front end of the rifle is completely different as well. Okay, one is a pointy bit and one is a square bit. Lovely. Mr. Great War, if you would be so kind as to turn around and return to the line. Okay. I think what we need now is to move to the Second World War. Okay, during the mid-war period, 1919 to 1939, the uniforms changed a little bit. Forward. Sarge? Don't tell him your name, Pike. Okay, now this gentleman here, ex-Royal Artillery. Okay, he is ex-Royal Artillery. We won't hold that against him. Okay, now he is dressed in the uniform that his regiment would have used in the Battle of Anzio in 1943. Anzio was in Italy. It was a massive, great siege. Anzio? Yeah, Anzio was a massive, great siege in Italy. They were hung up on the line. It really was World War I warfare with World War II weapons. Horrible, horrible, horrible place. That's what they had worn. Now you see he's got the nice, comfortable serge uniform again. Yeah. The flags on his left arm show that he's a signaller. He's not what they call a gun bunny. He doesn't put the rounds in the chamber and pull the string. He's the one that tells them where to put those rounds. Okay. Hopefully on the enemy. Yeah, he's not American, so hopefully it is on the enemy. Okay, now he's now wearing 1936. Looks like 36 pattern webbing, 37 pattern webbing. See, I told you I'm not an expert. He's wearing 1937 pattern British webbing, very similar to the World War I. Give us a 12, please, dear.
Yes, dear.
Okay, the funny little lunch pack. Yeah, go on it. The lunch pack around his neck, that's his gas mask or his respirator. Gas was not used during the Second World War, thankfully, and as a historian, I really cannot figure out why. The only thing we can generally come up with is that Hitler was so aghast at the gas victims during the First World War, he decided he wasn't going to use it. Okay, lovely. What we're going to go now, we're going to improve. This gentleman is Royal Artillery.
Yeah.
Come forward.
Artillery.
Now, we will describe Arthur. Come on forward, Paul. Come back and rank. No, Paul. Mr. Cook, stay in there. Right back, Paul. Come on. And Mr. Cook in the front.
Okay.
Where's Mr. Mannering? There we go. Okay. They're in the middle.
In the middle, right. Okay.
Right at the beginning of the Second World War, we are talking here 1939 to 1940, we were hopelessly not ready for war. Hey, how's that sound familiar?
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, there were cutbacks during the interwar years, and we were really not ready. Meanwhile, Germany was gearing up. We needed everybody tooled up and ready for war. So here we have in front of us a volunteer early war Home Guard, but they weren't the Home Guard then, they were the local defence volunteer.
Yeah.
Look, duck and vanish. The reason it was look, duck and vanish is because not only did we not have any uniforms, hence his armband, you'll notice that he is fully tooled up to take on a highly trained, highly armed German panzer unit.
Stop it!
If he was really lucky, he might have been given some flower bombs to train with, and a broom handle
That's right, to drill with.
to drill with, and if he was really, really lucky, you'd sling a bayonet on that to take him on. But that was Britain's front line, or could have been. Do I have Tony here? No, okay, thanks Arthur. Moving on. Who do you think they are killing, Mr. Hitler? Here we have. Any guesses? Anybody recognise him?
Elvis!
Here we have Elvis. Right. Some of you in the audience are far too young to remember the best TV series, comedy series ever. Dad's Army. Dad's Army, right? Head guy in that, the officer in that, the banker was Captain Mainwaring. Go home and look it up on Google, you kids. Okay, here we have an officer of the Home Guard. So when we did get our act in gear, we had almost the same uniform as the army had. He'd have a day job. In this case, he was a bank manager. He'd finish his day job and then he'd trundle off, join the Home Guard, and they'd have evening duties guarding places. Now in Barry, that included Barry Docks just behind us. That was heavily protected not only by the American forces but also our Home Guard units. Over on Nell's Point there was also a lot of Home Guard. There was Home Guard anti-aircraft there. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mainwaring.
Thank you.
Now, we've seen the infantry of the Second World War. Oh, no, we haven't, Richie. I see you here. Now, has anybody heard of Normandy? Give me a shout if you heard of Normandy. Yeah. Lovely. I'm glad about that. Now, this year is the 70th anniversary of the Normandy D-Day landings. Now, why do I say the Normandy D-Day landings? Surely there's only one D-Day. I see a gentleman nodding there, he's in the know. There are more than one D-Day. There are numerous D-Days. I think it was something like 236 D-Days in the Pacific campaign. D-Day is simply a term, okay? D-Day is a term. So, I'm planning something. It is going to happen on D-Day. The following day is D+1. The day after that is D+2. Now if that day that I'm planning, like Wartime Weekend for example, if we had to delay it by a day, that would be still D-Day, but D-Day would have moved and all the planning would have been the same. So if you think of that as Wartime Weekend, if we'd have had to delay by one day, today would have been D-Day, not yesterday. And that happened to Eisenhower because the weather was so bad that his plan for D-Day didn't happen because the weather was too bad. So they just shifted everything along, but still what happened on D+1 happened on D+1, what happened on D+2 happened D+2, and so on, yeah? Okay. Here in Wales, here in Barry, we had an awful lot. This was American Central, this was, back in the day. Roughly 1 in 4 people, look around you here, 1 in 4 people would have been American servicemen, right where you stood now. However, our brave boys in the army, Rich, if you could be so kind. Here we go. This brave man of the South Wales Borderers, one of Wales's regiment. Big cheer for Wales's people. There we go. You see, he's tall to the hilt. He's still carrying that Lee Enfield rifle, .303 rifle. He's got a full set of attack, a 37 webbing. Everything he's got to live out of is in his little pack on the back. Most important bit of his kit, teacup. First thing you do when you stop, brew a kettle. Okay, whatever rank, whatever squad, whatever corps. First thing you do is brew up. Okay, Rich, can you just turn around and show your bum slapper? Okay, now I have a Normandy veteran friend who, when he was marching across Normandy, he was so tired and they couldn't stop because they had to keep the pressure on to the advance, and he was so tired, he said the only thing that kept him awake was as he marched forward, that entrenching tool, which he calls a bum slapper, slapped him on the bum and woke him up, and that's how he actually marched across Normandy. Okay, turn around again, Rich. Inside those pouches there, they're called Bren gun ammo pouches, but you put anything in it. My Normandy veteran friend, when they issued the ammo, here's a Bren gun magazine, one we prepared earlier. My Normandy veteran friend, he put 8 hand grenades in there. And when the guy issued them to him, It's 8 hand grenades. I mean, he thought it was Rambo. 8 hand grenades, and the reason for that is his dad, who was in the Great War, said to him, "Son, take with you some pineapples." They looked like pineapples. You got one there, Rich?
No, sorry.
Okay. Anybody got a grenade?
They wouldn't let me have it.
I can't believe it. We got no explosives. What wartime weekend are we? Have nothing that blows up. Okay. He took 8 grenades because his dad, who was in the First World War, said to him, "Son, take as many grenades as you can. They will get you out of trouble." Okay. Okay, lovely. I think that's happy, Rich. Yeah, thank you very much, then. Now, part of the Normandy campaign, and about 2:40, so somebody can watch their watch, make sure I don't drone on. About 2:40, we have a flyover here by a C-47 Douglas Dakota.
Is it happening here on the seafront?
It's happening here and the seafront. Hello, Shani, lovely to see you. It's happening here and the seafront. Okay, so we'll be able to stand here and watch this gorgeous Second World War aircraft fly past. Anyway, it didn't just fly around looking pretty, it dropped people. Okay, paras forward, please. British paras forward. Lovely. What we have here are 2 British paratroopers, okay? Normandy. They are Normandy kitted out. You see the Bergen kit is slightly different to what my colleague in the infantry had, because everything they had no vehicles, they literally jumped out of the plane, landed in enemy territory, they had to carry everything. Now, John, can I just see the back of your Sten, please, sir? Right, lovely. They've got 2 versions of Sten gun there. The Sten is a submachine gun. Okay, it uses a 9mm round. On the left, you have the earlier model. That's when Britain was, oh my God, we haven't got any submachine guns, and the Germans have. Looks awfully like a bit of pipe with some welding put on, doesn't it? And that's what it was. However, when things started going a little bit better for us, we were able to improve it, which is the number 5. Okay, now it's a later war one. You see it's got a stock, it's got a hand grip, and the front end is to fit the same bayonet as of the, very nice, you've broken it. The same as a number 4 Lee Enfield rifle. Okay, now when he's fixed his gun that he's just broke, you'll notice that the gentleman kneeling down doing a bit of DIY on his gun.
He's proposing.
He's proposing. He's being covered by his colleague. He has on him a jump smock, which is called a Denison. Now the Americans didn't have anything like that. It's camouflage. We didn't have camouflage uniforms back then, so they're all green. Those poorly little Americans, they only had, and I'm afraid I haven't got an example apart from the one I'm wearing. They only had an M42 jump smock, nothing camouflaged like the Brits. So they actually painted them. Poor sods. They painted them. There's a very nice Denison they got there. You see, he's got a scrim scarf and, of course, the red berry of the parachute regiments. Yeah, they have to earn that. And he also has a little one. The little one that he's currently got in his hand. John, could you stand up, please?
Put it away.
Okay, the little one is a Browning 9mm pistol. Now, that is a lovely little pistol. It was designed in, I believe, 1938. It was a Belgian design and fired a 9mm round. Now, when I was in the Air Force, that was the pistol that we were issued, so it did some work, yeah? Lovely. Have we got a Webley out the front? Anybody got a 38 Webley? No? Okay, nobody got 30. Oh, here we go. Oh, lovely. Thank you, Mr. Manring. Now, here we have a Second World War Webley. This is a 38 Webley. Very similar to the 455 that a World War I officer used, but a lot easier to shoot. They realised that you really had to be a good shot to hit something with a 455. So they slimmed everything down. The downside of that is the bullet was slimmed down as well. So when you did shoot it, and the person was hit by it, they got really, really annoyed. However, anybody seen James Bond? This tiny little pop gun is a PPK Walter from James Bond. Yeah, it fires the same round as John's Browning there. Okay, lovely. Thank you, gentlemen. These gentlemen would have dropped at Normandy, at Merville Battery, Ranville, all over the eastern end of Normandy to secure the eastern flank. And you've probably heard about Pegasus Bridge. Yeah, that was the use of gliders. That would have been paratroopers as well, but they wouldn't have jumped out of a Dakota. Now there are also some other people over in Normandy. I think they're Americans, what is it? Do you want to stand forward? Okay. This gentleman here, we haven't, as I say, this uniform I got on was what they would have used in Normandy. It's a lovely uniform. It's really cool. In a day like that, it's brilliant. But that's the only weather it's good in. It's no good in the wet. It's no good in the cold. So this is a uniform they use in Normandy. Now we're here, cusp of September, aren't we? Operation Market Garden was a plan to end the war by Christmas. Yeah, well, you know this gentleman joined up because he'd be over by Christmas. Well, it's a different Christmas. The plan was to end the war by time Christmas. Was it Montgomery? I believe it was Montgomery. There was a plan by Montgomery to seize several bridges along the leading up into Germany and provide a path so the troops could go into Germany. It was an airborne component to seize the bridges, and we had an infantry and tank component to drive up that one road all the way along them. 30 Corps, thanks sir. Okay, this gentleman here is actually, I think you're infantry today, aren't you? Oh, here we go. He caught me off guard yesterday. He's changed, he's into infantry. Okay, one of the American infantry that would have been in that operation was wearing this. Now, it's a very modern-looking kit. This is indeed the first modern-looking uniform that was actually out on issue. I believe it's 1944 pattern webbing he's got on. It's green. It's a variation of the 1910 pattern. You see, if you turn around, sir, you see his kit is made into a small pack at the top and a big pack at the bottom. All of his shaving gear and his bedding gear was in the bottom bit. Let's say this guy's been in the field by about 3 years, and all of his combat gear would have been in the top pack. Yeah, so if he went into action, he could either take all of the webbing off and just go in with his ammunition, or he could drop the bottom pack. It was a very flexible webbing. Now that jacket he's got on is an M43 jacket, very modern looking jacket. Now I tell you, I had one and I washed it. Talk about waterproof. Even after washing it, there were still dry bits on it after it came out of the washing machine. And when I had one, if it rained and I was doing an event, that is the gear I would wear. Because this would soak in, this would soak in, that was dry. Very nice uniform. The only thing I'd say from World War II point of view is it looks so modern. Yeah. Now the rifle he's using is a brilliant bit of kit. That's an M1 Garand 30-06 caliber. The British rifles were bolt action. You had to chamber each round. Click, click, one round, one round, one round. This, however, had an 8-round clip. Okay, so you put a 10-round clip. Oh wait, lovely, thanks. 8-round clip. You put the 8-round clip in. The clips were carried in his webbing here. He would literally, the rifle would go empty, which would keep the bolt back, and he put his next clip in. There was, however, one slight disadvantage, that when it ejected the clip, it would go bing, which would tell the bad guy that you're out of ammo. So they have a very clever little tip for that. They'd shoot 7 rounds, they'd get a spare gun, knock it on their helmet, that went bing, they go, I'll have him now, he's got no ammo. And then that last round that you were kept would have the bad guy. Okay? What else can we tell? The boots are, I've got Corcoran, 2 seconds, John. These boots here are Corcoran boots. These are Corcoran boots, the first pattern jump boot of the American paratrooper. They were specially designed to protect your ankles when you landed. However, that moved on then to this type of boot, a lovely double buckle boot. They're really cosy to wear, really quick to put on, no faffing at all. Brilliant little bit of kit. Lovely, thanks very much. So if you pull back, and the helmet is the typical American M1 helmet, yeah? Who else we got? Sue, you're going to have to describe yourself, I'm afraid, so here we go. Sue, you'll need this.
Right, I am a chief friend.
I have a microphone and I'm behind you. Can't I interview you?
I am a chief friend and I am a chef. I was in the Navy and I was a steward originally, but basically I would have cooked for the officers and looked after the officers, basically. My uniform hasn't changed at all, it's the King's Crown instead of the Queen's Crown. Cheek buttons, black hats obviously, and the King's Crown on the badges, but other than that the uniforms are more or less the same as what they are today.
Can you give us a twirl?
Of course I can. Oh, and I got my tin mug. My cup of tea.
Because whenever you stop,
We have a brew.
absolutely give a round of applause.
Thank you. Now, we're still in the Second World War. You know who you are. Step forward. Surely the neatest, tidiest, most dashing-looking uniform of the British Armed Forces of the Second World War. Not that I'm biased, being ex-RAF or anything. Okay. If we would like to stand the Army gentleman next to the Air Force gentleman.
Yeah, there you go. Stand.
Ladies, you be the judge of this. Can we have a round of applause for the Army? Who fancies the Army? Yes, enough of that. And all of the ladies that fancy the RAF, us Brill Cream boys. Yay! Thank you, Mr. Soldier. We love you too. Okay, now Brian is a sergeant in the Royal Air Force. I can't quite... Sorry? Yeah, Al, we need you in a minute. Come on, don't be shy. Okay, anyway, I can't see your... No, he's pilot today. Lovely. He's a sergeant pilot. In the RAF, at the beginning of the war, all air crew started off at LAC, leading aircraftsmen. But because sergeants got better privileges when they were captured, I can't remember the year, and somebody else might be able to correct me, but all aircrew then went from minimum rank as sergeant. Now, Brian here is a sergeant pilot of the Royal Air Force, yeah? Sorry? Oh, sorry. Neil. This gentleman has two names, but he is still a pilot, a sergeant pilot of the Royal Air Force. Now, notice on his arm he has albatross. They should be looking backwards. They should be looking behind him. Reason for that is, funny old thing, he's got eyes in the front of his head. The albatross is looking behind him, and that denotes that the eyes of the Royal Air Force are everywhere. You can't escape the Royal Air Force. We saw the Red Arrows yesterday. We ain't going to escape. Oh, lovely. Thank you, Brian. Who? Dave? Get in here. Come on. Okay, who have we got? We're now moving on in time. I'm afraid we don't... Oh, sorry, Alan. You can describe yourself. Who else?
I'm from the Royal Navy, and I'm a regulating petty officer. I look for all the ones that's gone AWOL.
I am a AWOL, I got a cassette.
That regulates as a petty officer, and those are his service stripes. So that's 12 years service. And then this is shore patrol, looking out for any seamen that's gone AWOL that haven't gone back to their ship. And I'm a senior service.
Yeah, brothers.
You'll also notice that the senior service are the only people that actually get to officially wear beards. Yeah, that's because they haven't figured out how to shave yet. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to come in forward, big round of applause. We know who these are. These need no introduction. Now you see how things have moved on. Mr. World War I, if you could be so kind.
Any chance we can swap?
He wants to swap. Now you see how things have moved on. Right, what our gentleman here in what we affectionately call the multi-sham uniform. It used to be a green DPM uniform. Now they've moved to this multi-cam uniform, which is meant to be good for temperate climates. Meant to be good for woodland. It's basically a way that they can issue one uniform for every theatre that we're operating in. And as you know, we're operating in places like Sierra Leone, Afghanistan, Iraq, Barry. So this uniform is meant to be good. It gives an opportunity to to issue one uniform. Now, if you could give us a twirl, both gentlemen, with the webbing. You can see how the webbing has come on. Our modern gentleman is carrying PLCE webbing. Got an awful lot of pouches there, if you could touch one that puts your ammunition in. If I remember, top of my head, there's about 120 rounds to be able to carry in there, compared to the pouches on the front of our Great War Man. The Great War Man, as soon as he hits the deck, he's lying on his ammunition. Makes it awfully hard to get. Okay, now on the backpack of our modern gent, there could be a Bergen which would clip straight on there and straight off, similar to what our American gentleman had. Okay, Mr. World War I, back, thank you. Now, the interesting little bit of kit that he's got here is a rifle I absolutely hate. This is this little pop gun he's got in his arm is an SA-80 5.56 caliber rifle, the current issue of the British Armed Forces, and looking at it I'm thinking it's the later one, the L2 version, which has got the bigger cocking handle. Basically they introduced the yeah, that's it, thank you. I wasn't being rude. Okay, they introduced the SA-80. They took over my lovely great big 7.62 self-loading rifle cannon, and they gave me this little thing, and I hated it from day one. 5.56 caliber. The only good thing about it is it is a full automatic rifle if you need it. It's got a selective fire. You can fire single shot or full automatic. Yeah, it's got on the top of it what they call a SUSAT, if I remember, a SUSAT sight. Yeah, 1.5 times magnification with a battle sight over the top, so you can snap fire quite happily, and it will magnify the target just slightly more. What can we say about it apart from the fact that when it first came in, it went back to Heckler and Koch to be completely rejigged. I never saw them. They never fired the L2, but the L1, yeah, great little thing. I'd hit anybody with it over the head, but I wouldn't be able to shoot anything with it. Okay. Now he's wearing a Kevlar helmet. Yeah, not like our lovely little steel helmets that we have here. Yeah, he's got a Kevlar helmet which gives the same amount of protection for a lot less weight. The uniform he's got there is a lot better for all climates than, of course, the wool uniform that we had previously. Now, I'm not going to bore you any longer. I hope you've enjoyed this little bit, and I hope that now as you look around and talk to our living historians, you'll have a little bit more of an understanding about, you know, where they're coming from. Have I missed anybody that we need to show? Can't see anybody now. One policeman. We have a policeman. Otto, forward. Now, as you imagine, we have rather a lot of security here today. Let's face it, our collection bucket's got an armed guard. Otto, you're going to have the mic, because I don't know a thing about your uniform.
PC Harris. Now, you've been looking at the demonstrations here behind me from the First and Second World War, and done eloquently. But there was another body of men who protected this country when these soldiers were abroad in the trenches and in the other countries, and that was the police force. In Swansea alone, we lost 92 officers in the trenches of France. I represent them and support them. This is a uniform from the 1910, and it went through to the Second World War, where it was altered in 1950. The prop went and the rose went on top. That's what you see today. And some of the officers you see wandering around, they got the Manchester helmets on, but this is the uniform from the Glamorgan Constabulary. We covered Swansea, Newport Talbot and Cardiff. And in 1950 it was amalgamated with Merthyr Tydfil, and it's known today as the Swansea South Wales Police Force. Thank you very much.
And now we have somebody from the Monmouthshire Constabulary who's going to tell us about his uniform. Here we are, Sergeant Darren.
Hello. Yeah, and the modern ones. Basically, the Monmouthshire uniform I'm wearing was worn from 1901 to 1947, when they changed over the helmet and the helmet plate. like my associate with the Glamorgans, Monmouthshire was a slightly poorer county, and all they go for was MEC on their helmet plate, rather than all the fancy bling that he's wearing. You don't get many people up Monmouthshire, we're just cows and sheep. Yeah, and me. Thank you very much, I love you too. But unlike him, who's got a belt because he can afford one, Monmouthshire didn't have one, so we had to do it the old style. Like him, I also have a whistle, a notebook and pencil, handcuffs and a truncheon, which were normally referred to as appointments and had to be shown on parade before the constable would go out on duty, whether in the morning or the evening time. If he didn't have them, the sergeant would tear them a new one, because it was run more or less on military lines, so they had to be spick and span, everything shining, even their boots would be shiny before they went out on patrol. But it's dusty, naff off. There it is. Yeah, well, you're a gunner, you never walk anyway. I shall hand you over to the modern bobbies, who don't look as good as me.
Obviously, things have changed to nowadays. We don't have whistles. The people at Barry tend not to stop when you whistle at them. We no longer have a truncheon. It's now called the baton. It's a metal stick which retracts, and it's stored on our pouches. Obviously, we have the handcuffs, but unlike these guys, which are connected by chain, ours are solid handcuffs, so the hands are stuck together. The hat hasn't changed much. We tend not to wear the hats unless we're on foot, like we are today. They don't fit, they're not very comfortable, and they're very hot. Other than that, the uniform they're wearing we still have. It's called our number ones. We wear it for fancy parades and court appearances, but our modern day uniform, we try to be a bit more practical and a bit more accommodating. So that's us nowadays.
And last but by all means least, just dropped in, just ahead of the Dakota flight, we have a member of the 101st Airborne. Step forward there, please. Anybody watch the Band of Brothers? This gentleman is 101st Airborne.
Late as always.
Late as always. Okay. You see, he's wearing the same sort of jacket and trousers as myself, same corker and boots. Really comfy, good bit of kit, but fell to bits after a few months in the field. He's carrying one of my favourite weapons of all time. This is a .45 caliber Thompson. Yeah. Now, can we have a Sten gun near that, please? Okay. I interviewed a commando from the Second World War who used a Sten gun, okay, the one either side. That is a 9mm round. They traded those in because they said when they had to take out a sentry, they'd hit them and it'd do the job, but the Thompson would put them on their back. And you know, this is a wartime event, and I do hope you learn a little bit about it. Okay, thanks British Powers. Step 2 back. Okay, we'll turn around there, Lee, if you could be so kind. On the back he has what they call a musette bag. He has a musette bag. All of what he was going to carry and go fighting with would be in there. Quite a nice little bag, clips off really quick. Turn around front. On his left shoulder there he has his field dress in. If he gets hurt, gets a shell splinter, a wound, it can pop it off straight over the wound. And what he has in his hand here, hold it up, put it in your teeth, pull the pin, stand there. Don't drop that. He has a pineapple grenade, fragmentation grenade. Yeah, like I said earlier, one of